what happens is during recession, the middle gets washed out. So you want to be either high volume, low price, or high.
Are you looking for a way to drive growth, sales, communication, and retention in your academy? Kovar Systems 6-month Program Director course is designed to help members of your team thrive in the important role of Program Director. With step-by-step training, we will cover a wide range of topics, including prospect follow-up, overcoming objection, and securing enrollments. Our program will teach your team members to effectively communicate the values and benefits of martial arts, which can be a game changer in securing more enrollments at your academy. Our next 6-month course starts on this date, so don't wait and visit our site www.kovarsystems.com to get your team enrolled in the upcoming course. Again, that's www.kovarsystems.com. Enroll now and get ready to see some real results in your business.
Welcome to the Satori Lifestyle Satori Masters Podcast, the ultimate resource for ambitious, hardworking school owners that want to get their business and their life to the next level. My name is Dave Kovar. I'm a lifetime martial artist, business owner, speaker, and author. My goal is to empower listeners with the knowledge and the tools they need to break through barriers and really get their business and their life to the next level. Thanks for watching and enjoy. Welcome to the Satori Masters Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Kovar, and with me is Ilya Mir. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, thank you.
So Ilya Mir is the manager of our Natomas school, and he's been with us for a really long time. We first met when Dave Chairman was running the Sacramento Entrepreneurial Academy, which is a local group where young up-and-coming business professionals kind of get a chance to learn more about business and entrepreneurship. And so it was the end of the year part, I guess, events. And anyway, we met and
we struck up a conversation, and I was fascinated about martial arts back in the day, and I was doing a bit of Aikido, and I actually had a friend who was 1 year ahead of me in the SEA, and he mentioned to me, hey, there's this new thing called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you should look it up. And I never did until I started working here. And I think when I just first started working here, I was working in the corporate office with you and Chairman and other people. And I was talking to another instructor here, and I said, hey, there's this cool school. They do that new thing, Jiu-Jitsu. And the instructor said, yeah, you don't want to go there. It's something different. Well, of course I did. And I've been doing Jiu-Jitsu ever since, and it's one of the best things I've ever done. It's just great to be part of the organization and explore the world of martial arts and grow a really fun and exciting business.
Yeah, well, it's cool. Well, so you've been at it's 17 years. You've been at Natomas.
So I've been part of the company for 17 years, and I've been at Natomas for 16.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's right. You know, it's so funny because we first hired you. You were like the tech guy, right? If my memory serves me right.
Well, I think that was something that I was doing because there was an opportunity for me to do that, but I don't know if I was exactly.
That wasn't your strength, maybe. But
yeah,
you were
I knew enough to be dangerous, but I didn't. Okay.
Yeah. No, I got you. Well, we found you the right place. So anyway, fast forward. So a real quick little background. How many languages do you speak?
Confidently, probably 3, but I get by in 4 or 5 or 6.
That's crazy. So. It's so impressive. And that was what your degree was in, right?
Yeah, my degree was in languages, and I studied Portuguese and English, and I always speak Russian and Ukrainian, but, I get by in Spanish as well.
Do you use, by the way, we're getting sidetracked, but do you have, when you have Hispanic people come to the school, are you able to?
All the time.
Wow.
All the time. So I speak Spanish every day to people who don't maybe speak English, and so I try not to speak Spanish all the time because otherwise, it can.
You always have to be there. They have to find their way. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and by the way we run our schools is that most of our schools we have co-managers, and one's kind of the head instructor. Usually, one's the program director, and you manage as a program director also as well. And one of the things that you have been, we've gone through. We've had a lot of head instructors since you were at Natomas.
Right.
We've probably 4 or 5 different people that have worked.
I have worked with 4 different people.
Yeah. And so right now Natomas is just killing. It's our most profitable location, and we took a big hit there. Probably more than some of the other academies after ProMAC for whatever reason. But you've come back really strong, and you've had almost a net new for the last, how long? I know it hasn't been perfect.
So COVID really, we got hit super hard. We were at 467 active count.
I love the
before
fact
COVID.
that he knows exactly the
Yeah.
number, 467. That's
I pay attention to stuff
I
like
know
that.
you
Yeah.
do.
So March 2020, actually February 2020, we finished at with 467, and we were run rate was a little over 80,000 a month. We were gonna potentially hit $1 million that year, but not quite. And then we lost a lot of students. At the end of December of 2020, we had 260 students.
That's crazy. So you lost 200 members, almost half your student body.
Right. And right now we're at 425.
Amazing.
And we've been positive net new for 34 months, and we're hoping to do it for 36 months this year.
34 months, and I know that you were net new 1 this month. Is that right?
Net new month.
It doesn't
net
matter.
new,
You're
correct.
still net new. It's really impressive how you've
Yes.
grown. And one of the things that I think that you guys have done so well is that you've got a really you focus on the numbers very, very much, and to the point that to where you often give us good, valuable insight that we use for the rest of the company. But year over year, Natomas, you beat projections. Basically, tell me how. Share how you're able
So
to do that.
what we do is we look at our business as a pyramid. At the bottom of the pyramid is active count, right? So in order for us to survive and thrive, we must continue to grow to grow our active count. And then the next layer up would be student value, then events, and then retail. And so what's really important is every day I must commit to a minimum of 10 touch points that contribute directly to growing my active count.
Is that you or your team?
That's me personally.
Okay. Love it.
And what I mean by a touch point, so let's say there's a lead in our inbox. I need to follow up with that. I need to send a text on Relentless because somebody has been inquiring by the program. I need to call somebody who maybe is a potential quit or somebody who could be enrolled. So minimum 10 touch points per day. So that's about 50 a week, 200 a month. So if I do 200 touch points a month, I can comfortably generate 40 to 50 students in the pipe. And our conversion rate right now is 60% plus. So we would enroll, 20 to 25 students every month. And the math is pretty basic. So if you can just focus on 2 net new per month.
Stop right there. Right, 2 net new per month.
Okay.
Just start over with if we can just focus on 2 net
Sure.
new per month.
Okay. So if we can focus on 2 net new per month, that's 24 a year. That's, let's call it 100 students in 4 years.
And by the way, I want to make a caveat. This is for a mature school. If you're starting with a brand new school, the numbers are different. But in our organization, we only have 1 new school and another one about to arrive. So it's the tree only. So what we're talking is a bunch of mature schools that are close to capacity. So slow, steady growth from there is really the idea. Okay, so you're focused on 2 net new per month.
Correct. So if I can do that, I know that, again, in 1 year, I can grow by 24, 25, and in 4 years. And again, in our business, 100 net new is incredible because, again, the business we're in is, I call it, the beauty of fixed costs, right? So we've got 2 fixed costs, wages and rent. In the beginning, when you open a school, that's a burden. Oh my gosh, it's so hard that you got to pay rent regardless of how many students you have. And again, if you're studying by yourself, okay, maybe you can get by without a salary, but at some point you got to have an assistant, you got to have other people you're going to be paying. So you are in for a considerable amount of money when it comes to wages and rent. But the beauty is you continue to grow the school, and those 2 variables, they don't change. I mean, wages can change if you're going to grow the school quite a bit, and especially if you're going to be out of the business full time and just going to kind of, watch the business grow. But still, those fixed costs, they continue to give year over year. And so for us, what's important is how do we continue to grow when we know those fixed costs are going to be at constant? Just keep growing, because, like, for example, this past year we grew our revenue by almost 25%. So
and by the way, you're on track to do. You're going to
Yeah.
We don't want to jinx anything, but
Yeah.
put it this way: we're very close to the seven.
the coveted 7-figure. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, so we did
We're talking like he tried to sell me a uniform when I was out at the school last week because he wants to every little bit helps.
That was kind of a joke, but I would have
Not
taken,
really.
I would have
He
taken
would've-
his money if he actually said yes. So we did 822 in revenue last year, and we're hopefully going to be somewhere around $1 million. So that's almost a 23-24% increase. But the beauty is our profit increased by 50%, because again, the beauty of fixed costs. You increase revenue by 23-24%, but you can increase profit by 50%, just because again your costs are fixed. It's an incredible business.
Yeah, I mean, bottom line is I want you to take a second because I know you are a numbers guy, but more than that, you really understand the value of having a quality product. And take just a second and kind of give me your feedback on that and the importance of that.
Well, so a couple of things here. One is I think we've built an incredible company. We've got brand recognition. We've been in Sacramento Valley for 45 years now. And it's everybody knows us, though that's maybe not necessarily true in our neighborhood because we've got a lot of people who are, fresh to Sacramento and a lot of immigrants. But still, the brand value is there. And I think what's important is in order for me to comfortably talk about numbers, about growing the business, I must have confidence in our product. That's a given. If I don't have that, I can't, fake it. I can't, make it up. So parents who come to class and they bring their kids in, they have to be wowed every single time. So that's a given. If you can't wow your parents and your students every single time, there's no point in talking about numbers.
I was out there last week visiting, and it was the bleachers were full. First off, we have about 2,800 square feet. Is that right?
3,000.
3,000. So right, yeah, and usable mat space. I'm guessing we have 1,400-ish space.
I think 16-ish.
Okay.
16-ish, but yeah.
Man, I'm wrong on that number too. But the point was the place was packed. There was probably I'm not exaggerating. There was probably 60 or 70 parents watching class. You had a giant little Sam's class, and then you had bags separating a prep class going on in this small room, had some other people going. I mean, it was a hive of activity. But you know what? It was impressive because the instructors are doing their job. The energy level is positive, and you go in there, and the analogy we were talking about before the podcast about going to a busy restaurant, right, is where you want to be, but you don't want to stay. You don't want to wait in line for an hour and a half to eat. And in other words, you're going to this busy place, but you're getting really good service. The team is on top of it, and it's a very fun environment to be in. And so good job on that. And one of the things that you've always been really what's the word I'm looking for? Opinionated is price points, okay? And just a background, and I've probably shared this story with you before, as my older brother Tim, who was my business partner for years, who you knew a bit.
Sure.
And he was always, I go back in time, my original price back in the day, and I'm going back to when I first started, it was supposed to be $40 a month, okay? But I really only charged $30 a month. and because I was sure nobody could afford it. And maybe I shared this story with you, but I'm going to share it anyway. So, it was supposed to be first and last month's payments. That was the deal. So if you enroll in my school, I was supposed to collect $80. This was a model, the Tracy's Karate Studios model that we would use that I'd learned from my instructor, Bruce Jutnick. And I remember this one particular day, it's like the third of the month. Okay, I rent is due on the 1st, late on the 5th. I don't have all my rent money yet. I've got this guy that comes in, and he's in his early 20s. By the way, we had almost no kids then. They were all and I'm doing my introductory course with him. And I'm thinking, oh man, I really need him to enroll. And so I sit down to do my presentation with him, and I go, it's normally $40 a month. It's first and last, which is normally $80, but I'm only going to charge you $30 a month, and don't worry about the last month. And he looked at me. And he goes, and he kind of sighs, and I'm thinking, oh, is that too much? Maybe I should only charge him $20, because that's how I thought then. And he goes, and he pulls out a $100 bill, Because I thought it was going to cost me $80 to get started. And I had to run down to Wiener Schnitzel to get change. And I never forgot that lesson. But here's fast forward. Over the years, then when we moved to Carmichael, which was in 1986, the program that I had was 3 months for $129 plus a uniform. Okay, which basically a uniform cost $10 at the time, and that was $40 a month for 3 months. And I would repeat that. And my brother came on, and by the time I could not process the amount of students that we've had at the time. And it's like, dude, we got to raise the rates. And every time we raised the rates, I was convinced that everybody was going to quit. I remember one time in particular, this would have been in the early 90s, and we're charging $50, $60 a month. And I by the way, although you may or may not be aware of it, I know the numbers of our business very well. It's not where I live. It's not the one I'm tracking, but I can tell you what's going on everywhere, okay? I mean, I look at the P&Ls and I always have. And Tim goes, hey, I want you to look at the numbers. How do the numbers look? Yeah, they look great. How's our conversion rate from inquiry to new members? Oh, it looks great. Yeah, we're trying to hit this little 80% formula. And yeah. He goes, okay, great. I raised the rates by $20 a month 3 months ago. I was like, what? And it had no effect. And it's almost never had an effect. And I share that with you because fast forward, who's the guy on the team that's always going, I think we should raise our rates, and being hesitant. How many times have we let you raise the rates at your school? You said, okay, try it at your school, and spearheaded what we ended up doing. So give me your thought process on this.
Well, so we started increasing rates back in 2017.
We've been increasing rates forever.
Well,
so
okay,
it's not like we didn't.
Yeah, since I've been here. But okay, so let's just retract. So I got onto the team 2006, and we were at 159. Then we actually dropped to 149 company-wide. I insisted that, hey, we should stay at 159 just to see if it's going to make a difference. And then...
Are you a martial arts business owner struggling to grow your school? Look no further than Kovar Systems. Our complete solution program offers comprehensive coaching and training for all aspects of your business, from student acquisition to staff development. Our one-on-one coaching provides guidance from a dedicated success coach, while our extensive library provides tools and strategies to help streamline your school's operations and drive sustainable growth. If you're ready to transform your school into a thriving, profitable business, schedule a complimentary 60-minute call with us today. With Kovar Systems, you'll experience work-life balance, significant revenue growth, and more time to do the things that you love. Take your business to the next level by visiting kovarsystems.com/podcast and schedule your free coaching call today. Again, that's kovarsystems.com/podcast.
And I have to stop just to give a little background to that. At the time, this was 2006, 2007, we were at the end of a failed expansion. So we expanded way too fast, got in way over our head. And what we had at some of our schools is, unfortunately, we'd expanded so fast that some of the quality of our teams wasn't as good. And we realized for the first time ever, I don't know if our product is worth what it was. So it's the only time we ever went backwards. And then, of course, we're battling hard and building our staff back up. So there was a sense that what we need to do? We need to focus on our products. If we jump too high, especially because the program directors at the time were such to where we didn't have as maybe high quality program directors, that we're going to have a harder time selling it. I just want to give you a background. Okay, go ahead. So,
and anyway, so we're at 159 and it was 2017. And I'm like, gosh, we got to increase rate. So what we did is we did an increase from 159 to 169. And we did it at our academy, and then I think everybody else followed within the next several months. And then we did 179. So we did a $10 increase. And when we increased prices to 179, we also increased prices to all current students by 5%. That was the first time we did an increase probably in, 15 years?
Yeah, well, and we used to, through the 90s into the mid-2000s, we always had a 5% annual increase. Right. And we put that on hold when we dropped our rates down because it was like everything was on freeze. So that was something that we'd done for years, but we hadn't done it for a long time. Absolutely.
Right. And then so we went from 179 to 195. And then right after we were coming out of COVID, what I realized is people had a lot of money. Because again, people were staying home. So the savings rate in the country was almost 20%. The savings rate right now is 3%. So we're actually in a much much more difficult position right now. But here's the thing: if and when the recession does hit, there's a lot of conversation about going on about that. What happens is during recession, the middle gets washed out. So you want to be either high volume, low price, or high price, low volume. And so it doesn't matter whether there's a recession or there's an economic boom. You always want to be catering to people who value what we can do for their kids. And hopefully they have some money. But also, you know what? I've known that there are some people who, live in a $1 million home, they drive expensive cars, but they don't enroll. And vice versa, the people who can barely afford the program, but because of how much value we bring to their children, they make it a priority.
Well, one of the things that makes you such a good program director is that when someone comes into your office, you have a belief that you can enroll them. And
Absolutely.
I think that's super important. And by the way, I don't always have that. I was the program director for 10 years. I was everything for 10 years, right? And even in our ProMAC business, I was the person that enrolled everybody for years and years. But I did it, and I got by. But it wasn't. But one of the things is that you believe someone's going to enroll, but also. What I think you do a really good job of is making sure you consistently build value and so that it's worth it. And let me explain what I mean by that. I remember, I've done this several times, where I'd bring somebody in the office to talk about their program, and because they were driving a nice car and had a nice ring on the finger, I didn't do as good of a job selling the program as I could because I assumed they were going to enroll. So I didn't really build the values and benefits. Right. Only to find out they didn't enroll. And the flip side, how many times have I looked at some guy and said, "There's no way this family can afford the program," only for them to take out a wad of cash and pay for a year up front. So the bottom line is, when you're doing your enrollment process, what you got to do is you got to make sure you build massive value for your program, and then take your personal opinion about whether you think they can or can't out of the equation.
That's absolutely right. Because again, I'm in the business of making sure that we can provide for the future of their kids. And I believe in that, but I also know that it's what we've done for so many years.
Did I ever tell you about when I enrolled Alex at Waldorf? Did I ever share that story?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so going back in time, so my son Alex is now 29, so he would have been a sophomore in high school, which would have made him 14, so this is 15 years ago, right? And we are right in the thick of it. Like, this is when we are bleeding as a company very badly. And that's kind of when you came on board right in that.
I remember that.
We'd gone through a lot of money, and we're fighting for our life. We're still losing money. Mr. Chairman and I are taking in a paycheck every now and then. By this time I'd sold off properties and cashed in 401ks and second on the house just to make payroll. You've heard the story, okay?
I remember those days.
But in the process of this, my Alex is going to a high school, and he's not enjoying the year. He's not doing well in school. He's having a hard time. And when I was his age, I was going to the same high school that he was, and I didn't enjoy it as well. And my parents transferred me to this private school, Waldorf, Sacramento Waldorf and I kind of tell Alex that, just kind of casually goes, "Well, what about me? What about me going to Waldorf?" And it's a very exclusive school. Now, I was able to go as a kid because my dad was a minister, and I got a scholarship and a really reduced rate because my family wasn't very well off growing up. And I'm thinking, well, they're not going to give that to me. I'm a local businessman, and there's no way where it's going on right now we can afford it. But I wanted him to at least have I wanted to check it out. So we went for Discovery Day. So he went for the day, and I went down and I toured the school, and I remembered how amazing it was. And he came back on the first day just loving the program. Here's my point. Guess what? We found a way to put him there because we saw the values and benefits. And what does that have to do with our conversation? Someone comes in, even how many single moms do you have that are paying full tuition at your school?
Plenty.
Yes.
Plenty.
And so what we have to do when someone first comes in is we got to make sure we build the value so they can see what exactly we do for people, because then guess what? Their chances are, by the way, it can't just be lip service. The thing is, you got to be able to back that up, right? Which we work really hard to do. That they're going to be able
because
to
again, we're not selling a product, we're selling a service. So they can cancel at any time. So unless we deliver every single day, day in and day out, we're not going to have students.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So another thing, I just kind of, you really follow, local economics, right? And kind of give me your take on kind of what you see on a macro and a micro level.
So, we're living through some incredible times. During COVID, they printed some crazy amount of money. I think it was like 13 to 15 trillion. right? So the currency supply was increased by something like 30 to 35%. So we just had, Brian Sedway, our financial advisor, come and talk to us. He mentioned that inflation over the last 3 years is at 40%. It's absolutely insane. I mean, it's historically unprecedented. So we are living through some crazy inflationary times. And if anybody, take a look, if you want to take a look at what you should be charging right now, just put US inflation calculator into Google. You'll find a website, there's actually many. And take a look at the year you opened. Say for us, it was 2006, and we were charging $159. What you should be charging now, just based on the inflation rate, which is about 50% since 2006, we should be charging $242. So we're charging $229 now, which means we're close, but not even quite. So the value of the dollar of 2006, was 50% higher than it is now. It's absolutely insane. At the same time, we've been in a deflationary period of time for the last couple years, a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And so there is a lot of, the housing dropped, right? Housing dropped, used cars. You remember 2 years ago, you couldn't buy a used car. Or if you did, you would have to pay, double what you did in 2019. Yep. Now there's an ample supply of used cars. So we're definitely in a deflationary period, which again, when and if they're going to start printing money again, who knows what's going to happen? But ultimately we're macro inflationary and micro deflationary right now. So point is, continue to increase rates because you're going to need that money later on.
Yeah, and whatever happens, and you and I, and actually, Brian Segway, we're having a discussion, who's our financial advisor for our company, right before real quick, I actually interrupted you two. I knew you guys would be talking about this, but at the end of the day, nobody quite knows what's going to happen. Something's probably gonna, but in the meantime, what do we do about that, man? We can worry like crazy, or we can save for a rainy day to the best of our abilities and make sure the quality of our product is the best it can be, and take care of the days and the years take care of themselves, right?
Exactly, because again, so for the biggest thing we can do is continue to serve our students and continue to take care of them. And so again, the reason we're able to charge probably much higher than anybody else in Sacramento, because we've got a busy school. We've got 3,000 square feet. We've got 425 students right now. And everybody who comes in, oh my gosh, it's busy. It's a lot of people. It's expensive. Oh, it must be good, right? Back to the restaurant analogy. You want to be dining at a place that's busy and that's maybe a little bit more expensive because the food is good.
And you know what I want to touch on the expensive thing part. By the way, there's a lot of people in the country that are way more expensive than us, right?
Absolutely.
We're probably a little higher than average of, but it's all relative too, because have you brought your daughter to Disneyland?
I have not.
Okay, it's fine that you haven't, but when you do, if you do, you're going to go, wow, that's a lot of money. And then guess what you're going to do?
I'm going to
spend it. And so that's a lot of times people's first reflex. They don't really have anything to compare it with. And if you were to compare our sport with our activity with gymnastics or dance or hockey or whatever, guess what? We're not that expensive.
We're not.
It's the cost of doing business.
I can tell you. So my daughter does gymnastics, and she's trained one particular place. It's gymnastics and dance. It's 3 times a week, and we are paying something like $240 a month. So exactly the same price. I took her recently to a swim class, and it was a group class. It was 30 people, 10 in each lane, 3 instructors in each lane, similar to what we do. Mm-hmm. And it was $40 a class. I was shocked. Mm-hmm. So point is, we are not that much more expensive.
Yeah. So the bottom line is that, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know you'll agree with me. I think when it's time, you're going to enroll somebody. They came in, they tried out the program. There's a couple things have to happen. Number one is that you got to make sure that you know what they're looking for, and you scratch that itch. You build value to the program, and then you're not afraid to ask for it. And the bottom line is that in most cases, people are going to go, oh, okay, they're going to go with it.
Absolutely. You got to have the product you believe in. And so it also helps that, I'm a red coat, I can teach, and I've taught for many years. I don't teach regularly now just because I got to focus on other things of the business. But because I know how to teach and I know how to work with kids and I have a red coat, it just allows me to be even more convincing and convicted that we are the best thing that they can spend money
For those
on.
of you that's listening, Red Coat for us is a certified instructor that had to go through a lot of hoops to get. It's interesting. Last night, the Madison Avenue location had, they usually have a very robust crew, but it was just kind of this perfect storm to where one person was out on vacation, and 3 people were sick, and I got the call, and normally I would never get the call, but my son happens to be at that location, and he was not feeling good, and he wanted me to cover his jiu-jitsu program, so I ended up, going and teaching last night, and I guess my point was I taught 5 classes.
Wow.
And back in the day, that was nothing. I did that for decades, but it takes. I talked about it in staff meetings. When it takes, I have a renewed respect for all the people that are out on the floor from bell to bell, and it's a certain kind of conditioning that you have to be in. Like I felt my voice starting to go a little bit. Anyway, it was just a great reminder about when you put your spit out on the floor, it's hard work. It's fun, but it's hard work.
I really enjoy teaching, but I'm glad I don't teach 40 hours a week.
Yep.
It's definitely the case.
Yep, very cool. Well, I'll tell you what would you, let's just say you've got some school that is struggling. Maybe they haven't recovered from COVID as effectively as they could. And man, they're having a hard time making it work. And they're frustrated, they're disillusioned, they're kind of, wondering what the heck, maybe there's this person would maybe give up, but they've still got 3 months on the lease and 3 years on the lease, and it's a personal guarantee. And, the grass is starting to look greener other places.
Right.
Okay. And you have a chance to talk to this person. What would you share with them?
Wow. That's we can go into a lot of different things.
Give
here.
me some bullet points.
So,
you're
but I think
coaching me, and that's the scenario. You've got 5 minutes to give me a few things to focus on. What would you
again,
tell me?
I think we should probably start. Okay, let's take a look at the quality of a program. Right.
Okay.
Let's see, what you teach, how you teach. Do you teach something that's practical, something that teaches real self-defense? Do your students understand that? Are they really capable of defending themselves? Do your instructors enjoy being there? Like, do you have a culture where people love coming to work and they enjoy being there and they enjoy teaching classes, right? That's probably the first thing, because if you don't have that, nothing else will matter.
I'm going to stop you right there. It's a great point. I mean, culture, what is it? Culture beats strategy for breakfast. And I think it's so true. And one of the things that I love about our organization, we got a bunch of great people that for overall really enjoy what they do,
right.
And I think that's always a great place to focus. Okay. So, all right, I'm going to work on that. What's the next thing I would work on?
Well, so the next thing again is, so assuming that you are already in that location where you're at, take a look, what's the low hanging fruit? Like, for example, for us, so we happen to be an academy that gets probably most inquiries, or at least, top 3 consistently. But still, every year, what we do is we go to local elementary schools and we run events. Like this year, we had 4 events. We generate 72 appointments. I have 13 enrollments from that. And 13 new students that I got from those schools are extremely important to us, because if we didn't have them, we wouldn't be positive. We would actually not be able to have positive net new.
And you do pretty well with renewals. So out of those 13, with referrals, out of those 13, you're going to end up with 3 or 4 or 5 more that came from that. No, I get it. It's kind of like you got to go out there. The classic thing is, I don't know one way to get 75 new members, but I know 75 ways to do 1 new member. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to roll your sleeves up and you're going to hustle.
Exactly. So again, for us, at least in our area, in the fall, October, November, this is the single best source of new students. And we've done it for, God, how many years? A decade plus, consistently every year.
Yep.
And so if you can get 15 new students in a couple of months, I mean, that's huge.
So I got to ask you a question. This is just some random thing. You're still talking about this guy that's disillusioned.
Right.
By the way, he's been in business a long time, and he's got an inactive list of hundreds of people. Okay. Have you ever gotten an old student to come back and train?
All the time.
Yeah. So see, this is really important. It's like, that's another source, right? Have you ever gotten a sibling to start because you initiated the conversation?
Again, the old Dave Kovar thing, sibling search, right? I don't intentionally do this every single day, but when I see a child, 3-4 years old, I always lower myself, ka-ching, engage, and, drop that little piece of positivity. And so maybe at some point they'll come back.
Yep.
And they always do. So I think, again, sibling search is super
plant that
powerful,
seed, right?
super easy to do, but how many of us do this every day, right?
Yep. And I think I would sum it up by this. And this is a great lesson for all of us. And I'm constantly reminded. I'm going to say something that I think is a great lesson. No, but I didn't mean. But it's something I need to hear on a regular basis. It's really about momentum. You know what I'm talking about? Like if you were at 260 members 3 years ago, and it dropped down, and now you're at 460, right?
425.
Right. Trying to get back to 460.
Right.
So we're still, but. So that's a positive momentum. And to your point, it's kind of like the net new of 2 a month, okay? Is that's all we really have control of, because what we have to remember, let's just say you get back to your highest active count, which was
467, yes.
467. Guess what? The next month rolls around, and it's either going to be higher or lower, right?
Right.
And so we're never going to arrive. It's always never going to be a point like, boom, all right, here we are. Because every day we got to roll our sleeves up and do it again in the morning. So it's really about what can you do today to get your momentum going in the right direction. Because what also happens when you get momentum, it changes your attitude. All of a sudden, you're a little more motivated to do all the stuff that's harder to do.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And again, 2020 was just hard. I remember how we dropped 200 students in 7 months or 6 months or whatever the time frame was. I was not in good shape mentally, emotionally.
Yep.
And I actually didn't even come back mentally until probably this year. Because again, I spent 15 years of my life building that and was gone in less than a year.
Well, it makes you appreciate. The one thing about how you're going it down is it makes you appreciate when you get it back, because you certainly worked hard. And well, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you all you do for the company. And it's been great having you on the podcast. And keep up the good work, my friend.
Yes, sir. It's a joy to be here, and thanks for having me here.
All right, man. Take care.
Are you a martial arts instructor looking to improve your teaching skills and build a strong team of future instructors? Well, look no further than the Satori Alliance, an international association of martial arts instructors. Our mission is to positively impact the global martial arts community by establishing a shared level of martial arts instruction, professionalism, and continuous learning. With our instructor certification program, you'll gain the confidence, communication skills, and classroom management techniques to run a professional and well-run martial arts floor of any age group. We invite you to schedule a free consultation with one of our program directors who can evaluate your instructor team's size, schedule, and training content. We'll outline the Satori Alliance master steps that have helped build and maintain strong teams of instructors. To learn more about the Satori Alliance and schedule your free consultation, please visit our website at www.thesatorialliance.com/podcast. That's SATORIALLIANCE.com/podcast. Join our community of passionate martial arts instructors today.
Thank you for tuning in today to our podcast. I hope you found it valuable and inspirational. To stay connected, please subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you go for your podcasts. If you enjoyed today's show, please give us a 5-star review. And we really sincerely would appreciate some feedback. Your feedback helps us to create high-quality content that will help others in the future. If you'd like to follow me, you can go to Dave Kovar on Facebook or Hanchy Dave Kovar on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on next episode.